wind. 4. The sailboat and
14, 60,
it could get
83,
4.
5,
It is
19, 37,
it
52,
could get the railroad,
4,368,
these
50,
workers and
718,
it could
60,
be
53,
were
9,
it
8,
is
8,
it
8.
could Frankie it could be Frankie
4,962,
it could be very
1,865,
and
2,
clean
3, 4,
it could be a balloon
73, 84,
all these are the days, my
1,956,
friends, and these are the days
1,597,
my friends
892,
it could
992,
some
5,618, 31, 18,
the sailboat and it could get for it
5,000,
is
43,
it could get
1,
the railroad for
1,000,
these workers and it could
212,
get for it is were
1,
it could be a balloon it could be Frankie
900,
it could be very fresh
900,000,
and
900,853,
all these are the days, my
40,
friends, and these are the
30,
days, my
14, 23, 28,
friends.
70,
Will
79,
it get some wind for the
1,
sailboat, and it could get for it
32,
is it
90,
it
80,
could get the railroad for
3,
these workers, and
2,
it could get for it is
100,000,
all
1,
these are the days, my
100,
friends, and these are the days,
and 9,
my friends. Put these days
23,
8,
87,
8,
100,
8
1,000,
cents into 100 coins
1,
of change. All these are the days,
1,493,
my friends, and these are
1,497,
my days,
63,
my friends.
89, 42,
Make a
37,
Toyota
100,
in this is
1,
these
1,000,
are the
50,
days. Loop.
60,
So
3,
if you say, will it get some wind
3,
for the sailboat, and it could 4,
83, 97, 400,371,
it could be Frankie, it could be very
1,131,
fresh and clean.
1,133,
It could be
81,
those ones. So
60, 1,
if
2,
cash the Bank of World Traveler from 10
2,
months ago,
2,
do you
1,361,
homes,
103,
the bus stop,
105, 6,
well, put
31,
the red ball, blue ball, 2 black and white balls,
8,
and Holmes
8,
pushed on the brakes, and the 4 balls went
37,
down to that, and Holmes said,
62,
"If those balls
593,
are A from the gear shift."
800,431,
All these are the days, my friends, and these are the days,
9,
my friends.
10,
It could get the railroad,
13,
for these workers,
51,
could,
37,
would,
6, 2, 30, 89,
will,
17,
it get some wind
4.
for the sailboat?
20.
And it could get for
1,962.
It is.
71.
Would it get some
3.
wind for
4.
the sailboat? And it could get for it is. It could get
1.
the railroad for these workers, and it could be
89.
were it is.
62. 57.
It could, Frankie. It could be, Frankie. It could be very fresh
8.
and clean.
1,000.
It could be
362. 2.
All these are the days, my friends.
31.
And these are the days,
93.
my friends.
84.
It could get some wind.
992.
And it could
5,618.
For it is. It could
7,315.
get
10.
the railroad
3.
for these
1.
workers, and it could get for it is worth.
1.
It could be a balloon. It could be Frankie. It could be very fresh and clean.
1. 40. 49.
All these are the days,
42.
my friends, and these are the days,
43.
my
16.
friends.
1.
Will it
57.
get some
90.
wind
92.
for the sailboat?
93.
And it could get
1.
for
100,000.
it is
628.
It could get the railroad for these workers, and it could
2.
get for
2.
it is.
1.
All these are the days, my friends, and these are the days, my friends.
428.
Put these days of
429.
8,
63. 80. 81.
8
82.
cents
8.
into
100,000.
100 coins of
9.
change.
10.
All these are the I days, my friends, and these are
1.
my days,
1. 1.
my friends.
1.
Make a
30.
Toyota in
32.
this is. These are
93.
the I days. Loop. So,
8.
if you say,
8.
will it get some wind
4.
for the sailboat?
3.
And it could. 4.
1.
It could be Frankie. It could be very fresh and clean.
10.
It could be those
62.
ones. So,
Lead Play 1. For those of you listening on Q2 Music and watching on WQXR.org, the Philip Glass Ensemble, directed by Michael Riesman and featuring Moran and Helga Davis. That's Lead Play 1 from Einstein on the Beach. I'm Terrance McKnight, and today we're exploring the evolution of this seminal work, 20th century opera, how it exploded our concept of opera. We're going to talk to Philip Glass all about it. There's no narrative, no heroes, no sheroes, no heroines. Music, and we'll get to the bottom of this story. BAM is celebrating its 150th year this year, and Einstein on the Beach is coming back to New York. And the composer turned 75 years old this year, and so we welcome Philip Glass to the stage.
Thank you.
Einstein was walking around when you were a young man. He was
Yes.
still around, and
He was a rock star.
yeah.
He was the first, I guess, scientist that everybody knew who he was, and he was famous for having a theory that at the time people said only 6 people in the world understood the theory of relativity. That may or may have not been true. We don't know. But right after the war, after the great tragedies that ended the Second World War, the Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and people were wondering what this atomic energy was, and he was the guy that somehow was connected to the theory for very good reason. I mean, he understood how that was E equals mc squared was the formula, and that was what. In 1946 and 47, I was 8 and 9 years old. In Baltimore, Maryland, where I grew up, all the public, all the libraries had lectures, and people were coming and explaining this, and there were books that even an 8-year-old could understand, I mean, more or less. So he was, when much later, Bob and I were looking for a subject for our first opera together, we went through a couple of ideas, and then Bob said, what about Einstein? I said, yes.
But you turned down Hitler.
We turned down Hitler, and I would have turned him down again. And also, but we also turned down Gandhi at that time, which became the second opera I did. But what Bob was looking for, he was looking for, as he put it this way, that, well, if we had someone that everybody knew, we didn't have to tell any stories because everybody knew the story. That was the idea of, and Einstein certainly was, even in 1974, 75, that was, he was still a tremendous presence, and I think as he is today.
Mm-hmm. And so you all took the piece to Avignon. And so I understand someone from the Met showed up and heard it. You guys brought it back to the Met?
Not at Avignon. They actually came to Hamburg.
Okay.
There was the idea was that they had some dark nights at the Met on Sunday nights. And the idea was that they were looking for events to put in on those Sunday nights. And Jerry Robbins, who was a friend of Bob's and someone I got to know later on, suggested that they send someone to see it. And Jane Herman, who was working at the Met at the time, was designated as the talent scout for these dark nights. And she came over with, I think, the producer at the time, I don't remember his name. Remember his name was Wexler. He was a lighting director, actually. And he became the producer of that event. We had to move in at 11 o'clock on Saturday night, after Lohengrin was finished, and we had till 5 o'clock the next day to move the show in. And we had tremendous help from the Met to do that. They had figured out how we had 3 crews, starting at midnight, then again at 8 in the morning, and then 4 in the afternoon.
And you guys lost a lot of money.
Well, we didn't lose it all there. We were losing money all along. But we lost significant. We lost $10,000 a night at the Met. But everybody loses money. I think Carmen loses money at the Met. Everybody. You can't. Opera is a publicly funded institution. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make money at the door. It's not like a Broadway show. It costs more than you can make. There are not enough seats even in the Met. So. That was a given in a way, but I think what we didn't know was how much we had lost before we got there. We had been in Europe. We did about 35 performances in Europe, and a wonderful Ninon Krolweiss was our agent in Europe, and she was also the agent for the Living Theater and Peter Brook and Kwiatkowski, so she was very connected with the avant-garde. She was the one that booked the show, and she was booking it under cost because no one knew the show. We were losing $3,000 a night every night we did it. So by the time we got there, Bob and I had no idea where we were with that.
So now I want to introduce our audience to someone else who's willing to lose a lot of money, Joe Malillo, who's going to bring a piece to BAM. Joe. Making art losing money, right? Making art losing money.
Well, when it's Einstein on the beach, you do it lovingly.
So tell us about your relationship with this opera, Joe.
Well, it starts in 1984, which was the second edition of the annual Next Wave Festival. We thought when Harvey Lichtenstein created the festival in 1983, there was a list of projects and names of artists that he said he wanted to create this festival in order to respond to these projects or these individuals. It became very clear in working with Philip and his staff and management at that time, and working with Robert Wilson and his management at that time, that it was not possible to do in the inaugural 1983 festival, which opened with the photographer and the film class ensemble. But in 1984, I did the job that Linda Brumbach at Pomegranate Arts is doing right now to actually reconstruct Einstein on the Beach with both artists and both managements. So it started in 1984 and in January, and we did the production in December of 1984 in the Howard Gilman Opera House.
Now it's part of the Next Wave Festival.
Correct.
And I'd imagine many of the composers who write for the Next Wave Festival probably use computers to write their music.
That's today, yes.
That's right. Philip Glass, I understand, still uses manuscript paper, and I want to know about his music. How does it still fit? I mean, which is still a great idea because you can, like, sell. Manuscripts they're a big deal, right?
Well, I can read them, actually. I'm not so sure about the computers. But there's another side of that, too. The actual structure of the music, which I had studied with Ravi Shankar and Nadi Boulanger years before, and I had developed a binary rhythmic language, just like ones and zeros, only I used twos and threes. So in many ways, not in many ways, but in an essential way, the language of Einstein is based on a binary musical system. So in a way, I think that has kept it part of the reason why, there are a lot of reasons why it's still interesting. Maybe that's even a minor one, but to me it's important.
Mm-hmm. Now, so Joe, talk about the newness of the freshness of the music, how it fits into your Next Wave Festival.
Well, fundamentally, the Next Wave Festival responds to innovative, progressive art. And Philip's music is nothing less than progressive and innovative, and it has grown considerably since 1984 when we had the privilege to have Einstein on the Beach. And his newest work continues to demonstrate its importance to us and our understanding of organic art evolution. It's just vital to and dynamic, and it actually communicates to the human spirit.
Now, Philip, was this the piece that perhaps made you a famous composer? Was this the piece that brought you?
Well, it's always a series of pieces, but that was a very important one. Before that, I was doing Koyaanisqatsi with Godfrey Reggio as part of the New York Film Festival, and then there were things along the way that were important. There's not one moment. Actually, there's a series of moments that go on for years before you finally say, well, I guess I can give up my day job. that's about what it is. But it's interesting what Joe says about what BAM meant for me was to me, and still is, a beautiful opera house, and probably the best one we have in terms of the ample space on the stage and the number of people that can be not that far away from it. 1,800, 2,000 people. So it's half the size of some modern opera houses. And for that reason, it's both intimate for the audience, and it has everything we need. It's a wonderful staff. The crew there knows this work top to bottom at this point. We're old friends with everybody there. So going to BAM is like going home for us.
And we do feel as though Philip is family. So it really is a very sharing experience.
Well, let's hear some more music. Thank you, man.
Thank you very much.
Get more of the story. Playing the part of Einstein is violinist Jennifer Koh. Here they are playing Knee Play 2 from Einstein on the Beach in the green space.
Do you know they just don't make clothes for people who wear glasses? There's no pockets anymore, so if you take your glasses off, they're easy to lose or break. Well, New York Phonics Center has the answer to your problem.
You see?
Don't. They could refund your money except the examination.
Any of those baggy pants?
No hassle, please call BR95555. BR95555. Do you know they just don't make clothes for people who wear glasses? There's no pockets anymore, so if you take your glasses off, they're easy to lose or break. Well,
To be? Answer the telephone.
don't. They could refund your money except the examination fee. So if you're tired of wearing glasses, go to the New York Aquatic Center.
If anyone asks you,
5555. BR95555. Do you know they just don't make clothes for people who wear
It
glasses?
was
There's no
trees.
pockets anymore, so if you take your glasses off, they're easy to lose or break. Well, New York Aquatic Center has the answer to your problems. Contactless lenses and the new soft lenses.
it is like
New York
that.
Aquatic Center, 11 West 42nd Street near 5th Avenue for sight with no
Mr.
hassle. Please call
Bojangles.
BR95555.
Mr.
BR95555.
Mr. Bojangles.
New York Aquatic Center has the answer to your problems. Contactless lenses and the new soft lenses.
The scarf of wear in black and white.
Except the examination fee.
This is
Near
about
5th
the
Avenue for sight with
things
no hassle. Please call
on the
BR9.
table. This one
55. Do you know they just don't make clothes for people who wear glasses?
Could
There's no
be
pockets
counting
anymore.
up.
So if you take your glasses off, there's a lose or break. Well,
It-
New York Aquatic Center has the answer to your problem.
You see.
Contactless lenses and the new soft lenses. The center gives you 30
Any.
days to see if you like them.
of those baggy pants. It was
No hassle,
huge.
please call BR95555. BR95555.
Chuck the hills. If you know it was a violin to be,
Soft
answer
lenses. The
the
center gives you 30
telephone.
days to see if you like them. And if you like them, and if you don't,
If anyone asks you, please.
near 5th Avenue for sight with no hassle. Please
It
call.
was trees. It
Glasses. There's no pockets anymore, so if you take your glasses off, they're easy to lose or break. Well, the New York Aquatic Center has the
It's
answer
like
to your
that.
problems.
this could be
Don't. They could refund your money except the
Counting
examination
up.
fee. So if you're tired of wearing glasses, go to the New York Aquatic Center.
the
11
scarf
West
of
42nd.
wear in black and white. This is about the things
5555.
on the table.
5555. Do you know they just don't make clothes for people who wear glasses?
This could be about the gun. Gun.
Soft lenses. The center gives you 30 days to see if you
Gun.
like them. And if you like them and if you don't, they could refund your money
Gun.
except the examination fee.
If you see any of
Near 5th Avenue for
those
sight with no
baggy
hassle, please
pants,
call BR95555.
Chuck the hills. It was
BR95555.
huge. Mr. Bojangles.
Pockets anymore, so if you take your glasses off, they're easy to lose or break. Well,
If you know
Aquatic
it was
Center
a
has the answer to your
violin to
problems.
be, answer the telephone, and if
Don't,
anyone
and they can refund
asks
your money
you,
except the examination fee. So if you're tired of wearing glasses, go to the New York Aquatic Center, 11 West 42nd
It
Street near
was
5th Avenue.
trees.
Site with no hassle, please call BR95555. BR95555.
it is like that.
Contactless lenses and the new soft lenses. The center gives you 30 days.
Mr. Bojangles.
New York
Mr.
Aquatic Center, 11 West
Bojangles.
42nd Street near 5th Avenue. For sight
I'll
with.
reach you. The scarf
You know they just don't
of
make
wear
clothes for people
in
who
black
wear
and
glasses.
white.
There's no pockets anymore, so if you take your glasses off, they are easy to lose or break. Well, New York Aquatic Center has the answer.
Answer the telephone. And if anyone asks you, please.
Except the examination.
It was trees.
Aquatic Center.
It
5.
is like that.
55. Do you know they just don't make clothes for people who wear glasses? There's no pockets anymore, so if you take your
Mr.
glasses off, they're easy to
Bojangles.
lose or break. Well,
I reach you. So, this
don't. They could refund your money
is
except the
about the
examination fee.
things on the table.
New York Aquatic Center, 11 West 42nd Street near 5th Avenue.
This
For
one
sight with
could be
no
counting
hassle,
up.
please call.
The scarf of wear in black and white. If you see
Break well, and New York
Any
Aquatic
of
Center has the answer to
those
your problems.
baggy pants,
Soft lenses.
it was huge.
Don't. They could.
Chuck the hills,
Glasses.
Mr. Bojangles. If you know it was a violin to be, answer the telephone.
5555. BR95555.
If anyone
You wear
asks you,
glasses, there's no pockets anymore, so if you take your
Please.
glasses off, they're easy to lose or break. Well,
it was trees. It
if you like them, and if you don't, they could refund your money. It's
It's
the
like
examination
that.
fee. So if you're tired of wearing glasses, go to the New York Aquatic Center, 11 West 42nd.
the scarf
hassle,
of wear
please call.
in black and white. This is about the things on the table.
So if you take your glasses off, they're easy to lose or break. Well, New York Aquatic Center has the answer to your problems.
Bern.
Switzerland.
1905.
We play two from the monumental game-changing opera by Philip Glass, Einstein on the Beach, performed by violinist Jennifer Koh, that also featured Helga Davis and Kate Moran. Jennifer Koh. Hey, this is Jennifer Koh, you all.
Hello.
Now, in the opera, Jennifer gets to wear a wig and a mustache. Is this something you've always wanted to do, Jennifer?
Yes, I've always wanted to be a heavy-set older man with lots of white hair.
Yeah. And I understand that you're the first woman to play this part in Einstein on the Beach.
Yes. It was quite, I mean, it was something I've always wanted to do in a way, and I think I always dreamed of doing, but I didn't actually know if it would work. And it's such a, it's a
in
great
terms of
honor
what?
and
What do you
pleasure.
mean, know if it will work?
Well, because I'm Asian and I'm female, and so that was a big part of it. But actually, I think when the wig goes on and the mustache and the whole costume, I don't think I definitely don't really feel like a woman. I feel definitely like an older man. So actually, this is a treat for me because I get to wear a dress and heels. Because usually when I'm playing this, I don't feel very attractive at all.
Now, I want to introduce, because we've heard his work, but we haven't spoken to him, Michael Riesman. Now, Michael, you have conducted every performance, you're on every recording, everything affiliated with the music in Einstein on the Beach, you're there.
That's right. That's true, yes. I was there at the beginning in 1976 in Avignon, and I've actually been fortunate enough to have been healthy enough and continued my association with Philip Glass all this time, so that I've actually done every single performance of Einstein since then, in the 1984 revival, then the 1992 revival, and now this run.
I'm curious about, just retaining friendships that long is difficult enough, but when you're working with somebody's music, I mean, something so close to Philip, his music like that, how do you guys just retain that working relationship that well? What's been the key to that?
Well, a big key to that is Philip Glass himself, as the man who is perhaps the easiest person to work for and with that I know, because he lets everyone who works with and for him do what they can do and doesn't interfere and basically doesn't manage you. He lets people bring what they know and what they can contribute to his work. So, there's been a very small turnover in the Philip Glass Ensemble all these years, largely for that reason, that people enjoy the music, they enjoy the challenge of playing this music, which is a special challenge of both technique of being able to maintain the stamina and endurance to do it, but also the rhythmic precision, which is perhaps the most important part of playing in the ensemble in our little group, which does concerts and other things, other theatrical shows besides Einstein. The rhythmic precision part of it is perhaps the most important from my perspective as music director. And the one thing that we all strive to get continually better at and make this experience of playing this repetitive music interesting, because you start to get into the minutest details of rhythmic precision, which it's related. Philip talks about how he's related to Indian music all the time, but for me, it's actually more related to African music, to drumming, to the idea of this repetitive rhythmic cycle with the tiniest little variations being noticed and dealt with in focusing on the rhythmic aspect of the music.
How has it evolved over the years for you?
Well, Einstein itself, actually, very little. the Einstein that we're playing today is practically identical to the Einstein we did in 1976. There are improvements in lighting technology, and I noticed Bob had spoken about that all the computer technology that's around today wasn't around then, and he's not sure that it's better, in that he thought the old lighting was maybe a little bit warmer. But anyway, from the musical point of view, the monitor speakers are better and the house systems are better, and we're using more modern keyboards and all that. But the music is basically the same. We have, back then we had a part amateur, part professional group of singers, and now we have all professionals. And they're great. This is a wonderful group. And I would say it's the best ever, but maybe that's doing a disservice to the 92 and 84 productions that were fine also. But the music is actually the same music that we did back then.
Music director Michael Riesman. For those of you listening on q2music.org, you can also check out the video webcast happening at WQXR.org. Jennifer Koh and Michael Riesman, all the ensemble will be at BAM beginning on the 14th of September for a run of Einstein on the Beach that will continue through September 23rd. We continue now here in the green space with Knee Plate 3. Play 3 from Einstein on the Beach, heard here in the green space. Let me introduce you to the singers of the Philip Glass Ensemble. Lisa Bielawa, Lindsay Kesselman, Melanie Russell, they are the sopranos. The mezzos are Hai-Ting Chinn, Maroney and Solange Merdinian. The tenors, Philip Anderson, Tomás Cruz, and John Kawa. Baritone is Gregory Purnhagen, and the basses are Damon Chappel and Jason Charles Walker. All conducted by Michael Riesman here in the green space. And we're streaming live on WQXR.org and broadcasting live also on Q2music.org. Please welcome back to the stage Philip Glass. This week I've thought more about neurons, protons, and electrons than I did since 8th grade. And as I listened to the music, all those, especially when I listened to the choir and when I heard Jennifer playing all those repeated notes, I'm thinking, is that the splitting of electrons? And what's going on here? That happens in your music. What was it intentional? Tell us about this piece and that part of it. Does it relate to Einstein at all?
Well, I think the language of this piece was developing over a period of 10 years before that. So this was actually the beginning of a language. It was the end of one. I began with something else with Satyagraha. But I was very fortunate in that I had that kind of a very precise training. And when I met up with Michael Riesman, I found someone who I had been studying in Paris. He had been studying in Vienna. So it was a kind of it was an interesting that we both had this very rigorous training in classical traditional concert music. I think what happened, and the reason I've often pondered how I came to New York, and I think my first concerts were in '68 and '69, and almost 9 years later, this is almost like overnight, we were at the Met. I mean, I started playing in coffee shops and in galleries, and ended up very quickly. And I'm wondering the real question is, how did that happen? And I don't really know, except that it must be, it seems to me, that there were changes that were going to take place in music and in painting and in theater, and we were part of a wave of change. And there must have been a need for that to happen, because it happened so quickly.
Now, you said this. I had the ability to write music that was so radical that I could be mistaken for an idiot. And yet, it absolutely didn't bother me.
No, it didn't bother me. No, I didn't. But the other thing, Terrance, I never imagined that 25, 30, 35 years later, we'd still be playing this piece. When Bob and I met him, and the people in the original company, we staggered through it, the first performances, and Michael's kind of glossing over the fact that the performance, let's say, practice of this piece was new. We had to figure it out. We had to learn how to do it, and we learned together, and we learned through several generations of performers. No one knew how to do this, and we didn't know how to play it either. I don't know what that first night in Avignon sounded like. I think we were all so excited to be there and to get through it. The first night we did it was the first night we had run through it without stopping. We went to the opening night not even knowing how long the piece was, Terrance. But and what's happened is, and the big thing that's changed is that almost all the performers knew the music before they began to sing it. It's become part of our world in a way which it was radically not true when we did it in '76. It's become part of the world we live in now, and for younger people, children can come and hear this now. I don't mean they can play it, but when we do these performances now, I see people of all ages coming. It's not just a passionate avant-gardists that we had. We managed to fill the Woodhall Opera House twice. I didn't know that there were that many people in New York that were interested in it, but there were. And now it's a much broader audience than there used to be. That's the big change.
So there was no narrative. I mean, you conceived this based on pictures or based on images, correct?
In point of fact, everything that you see on the stage were things that Einstein talked about. Trains and elevators and all this, and even if you look at the tiniest details that are going on, he tried to describe his theories in everyday language, which wasn't really quite possible. But what Bob, and I think the real genius of Bob in taking those ideas and making them visible, and that becomes very, very interesting.
It was a completely new way of writing opera or thinking about opera.
Well, not completely new. Bob and I could look back at Four Saints and Three Acts by Virgil Thompson. There were other pieces that were avant-garde pieces long before we did it. We had a particular spin on it that had to do with who we were in the time we were in, but we weren't the first avant-gardists who, maybe the first ones to play at the Met. That could be, but certainly not the first at BAM either. But before we were there with Einstein, Bob had been there with the Life and Times of Stalin and all-night performances that started at 7 o'clock at night and went to 6 in the morning. So that became a natural home for this. But we had the distinction and the good fortune of putting together a company that was passionate about the work. And it matched our own passion that we had for the work.
Now, some say that you brought a downtown aesthetic to the Met. And how did that play? What is that about? What are they talking about, a downtown aesthetic?
Terrance, I don't know if I can answer that question, but I find out, for example, now with the opera that follows, Satyagraha, it has a big audience. When we did that in 1981, which was about before this first revival, it didn't have such a big audience. And this is a work that has grown and found its place in the world we live in today. That was true for Godfrey's Koyaanisqatsi movie too. I was somehow associated with pieces that found, that invented a language but found an audience for that language a bit later, sometimes 10, 15, 20 years later. Well, I think that, we talk about the aesthetic, it wasn't that it was so new to the Met, it was the way the language of music and theater and dance and images. And the thing to remember is that the performers are a big part of this. Bob is a wonderful person to work for. It's difficult. I mean, you have to stand still sometimes for, just ask this crowd, 30, 40 minutes while he does the lighting. But Bob does it with such love and for the performers that they actually kind of enjoy it. Could you say that you enjoyed it? But so it's not just Bob and myself and even the musicians and Michael. It's the people that are on the stage and who and Jennifer Koh talked about that a little bit. But I think you could talk to almost anyone here. And when I'm looking at the piece, for example, a scene called The Building, where you see every single performer has a moment, and Bob has set them on the stage, and he's worked with them. And it's a beautiful panorama of humanity. That it's like a little, if you take a spoon and take a cup of water from the ocean, everything is in that cup of water. In a way, you can say, I think that an Einstein company has that kind of feeling to it.
Now look at our audience. There's a lot of folks here half our age, Philip.
Well, that's going to happen to you, Terrance. Keep going. Just keep going, fella.
It's just pretty startling to me that your music continues to reach younger and younger audiences.
Well, I think that was part of it, is that what we brought to it, not just us, but every performer in the piece. No one did this to get famous or to get rich. We might have gotten famous, but we never got rich. Not from this, anyway. There's a deep conviction that the world of culture has a way of articulating some of the most important qualities of what we human beings are. And we have the great good fortune, everyone who performs in it, of being a part of a fabric, of an expression, which tells us something about who we are and what the world is like.
Philip Glass, here in this green space.
Thank you.
We're talking about Einstein on the Beach on Q2 Music and WQXR.org. We'll continue listening to Trial Prison with two members of the cast, Helga Davis and Kate Moran.
I was in this prematurely air-conditioned supermarket, and there were all these aisles, and there were all these bathing caps that you could buy that had these kind of 4th of July plumes on them. They were red and yellow and blue. I wasn't tempted to buy one, but I was reminded of the fact that I had been avoiding the beach. I was in this prematurely air-conditioned supermarket, and there were all these aisles, and there were all these bathing caps that you could buy that had these kind of 4th of July plumes on them. They were red and yellow and blue. I wasn't tempted to buy one, but I was reminded of the fact that I had been avoiding the beach. I was in this prematurely air-conditioned supermarket, and there were all these aisles, and there were all these bathing caps that you could buy that had these kind of 4th of July plumes on them. they were red and yellow and blue. I wasn't tempted to buy one, but I was reminded of the fact that I had been avoiding the beach. I was in this prematurely air-conditioned supermarket, and there were all these aisles, and there were all these bathing caps that you could buy that had these kind of 4th of July plumes on them. They were red and yellow and blue. I wasn't tempted to buy one, but I was reminded of the fact that I had been avoiding the beach. I was in this prematurely air-conditioned supermarket, and there were all these aisles, and there were all these bathing caps that you could buy that had these kind of 4th of July plumes on them. They were red and yellow and blue. I wasn't tempted to buy one, but I was reminded of the fact that I had been avoiding the beach. I was in this prematurely air-conditioned supermarket, and there were all these aisles, and there were all these bathing caps that you could buy that had these kind of 4th of July plumes on them. They were red and yellow and blue. I wasn't tempted to buy one, but I was reminded of the fact that I had been avoiding the beach. I was in this prematurely air-conditioned supermarket, and there were all these aisles, and there were all these bathing caps that you could buy that had these kind of 4th of July plumes on them. They were red and yellow and blue. I wasn't tempted to buy one, but I was reminded of the fact that I had been avoiding the beach. I was in this prematurely air-conditioned supermarket, and there were all these aisles, and there were all these bathing caps that you could buy that had these kind of 4th of July plumes on them. They were red and yellow and blue. I wasn't tempted to buy one, but I was reminded of the fact that I had been avoiding the beach. I was in this prematurely air-conditioned supermarket, and there were all these aisles, and there were all these bathing caps that you could buy that had these kind of 4th of July plumes on them. They were red and yellow and blue. I wasn't tempted to buy one, but I was reminded of the fact that I had been avoiding the beach. I was in this prematurely air-conditioned supermarket, and there were all these aisles, and there were all these bathing caps that you could buy that had these kind of 4th of July plumes on them. They were red and yellow and blue. I wasn't tempted to buy one, but I was reminded of the fact that I had been avoiding the beach. I was in this prematurely air-conditioned supermarket, and there were all these aisles, and there were all these bathing caps that you could buy that had these kind of 4th of July plumes on them. They were red and yellow and blue. I wasn't tempted to buy one, but I was reminded of the fact that I had been avoiding the beach. I was in this prematurely air-conditioned supermarket, and there were all these aisles, and there were all these bathing caps that you could buy that had these kind of 4th of July plumes on them. They were red and yellow and blue. I wasn't tempted to buy one, but I was reminded of the fact that I had been avoiding the beach. I was in this prematurely air-conditioned supermarket, and there were all these aisles, and there were all these bathing caps that you could buy that had these kind of 4th of July plumes on them. They were red and yellow and blue. I wasn't tempted to buy one, but I was reminded of the fact that I had been avoiding the beach. I was in this prematurely air-conditioned supermarket, and there were all these aisles, and there were all these bathing caps that you could buy that had these kind of 4th of July plumes on them. They were red and yellow and blue. I wasn't tempted to buy one, but I was reminded of the fact that I had been avoiding the beach. I was in this prematurely air-conditioned supermarket, and there were all these aisles, and there were all these bathing caps that you could buy that had these kind of 4th of July plumes on them. They were red and yellow and blue. I wasn't tempted to buy one, but I was reminded of the fact that I had been avoiding the beach. I was in this prematurely air-conditioned supermarket.
The song I just heard is Turning, the song and Where 'Tis thing. This would be the time that you come. This has been addressed to all those girls. All this one has been very American. So stop. When you see when it was it has been, when you, hey, Mr. Bojangles. Hey, Mr. Bojangles. Hey, Mr. Bojangles. This has, this scarf of wear of black and white, that this has been this about the things on the table. This would be counting that you always wanted has been very American. So stop. Hey, Mr. Bojangles. Hey, Mr. Bojangles. Hey, Mr. Bojangles, this has this scarf of wear of black and white, that this has been this about the things on the table. This would be counting that you always wanted, but all this one has been being very American. So stop. Hey, Mr. Bojangles. Hey, Mr. Bojangles. Hey, Mr. Bojangles. This has this scarf of wear of black and white, that this has been this about the things on the table. This has been addressed to the girls, where that song of Satan, where it could be, into where, into where, into where of. Hey, Mr. Bojangles. Hey, Mr. Bojangles. Hey, Mr. Bojangles. Ah, this has this scarf of wear of black and white, that this has been this about the things on the table. This has been addressed to all those girls, but all this one has been being very American. So stop when you see where has been. Hey, Mr. Bojangles. Hey, Mr. Bojangles. Hey, Mr. Bojangles. This has red, blue. Always run very quickly in a mad world. Say this, that call you piggy in the sky, like up in the this is written. John Lennon, for from Christopher Knowles' actions, where that major star, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, the Peoples, where I. This has also worked. This has been reflections, has been lucky as the sky. This has been, so those ones have. If you be so arrogant, it could be something like to those ones so learned what is so well, like into a monster, like into where? Like a monster, like into a satchel. Hey, Mr. Bojangles. Hey, Mr. Bojangles. So, you know, like hey, Mr. Bojangles. Hey, Mr. Bojangles. So, you know, like if you see a little nosed beggar with baggy pants.
'Trial Prisons from Einstein on the Beach by Robert Wilson and Philip Glass, that featured Kate Moran and Helga Davis and the Michael and the Philip Glass Ensemble here in the green space. The tour begins at BAM on September 14th and continues through the 23rd. The performance does through the 23rd, and the opera is about 4.5 to 5 hours. There are no intermissions yet. The audience is free to get up and move about and come and go as you wish. That still is true, correct, sir?
Yes.
That still is true. I want to talk to these two ladies. Lucinda Childs choreographed the original production of the piece, and Kate, you are doing what she did. So talk about filling her shoes.
Well, she has impossible shoes to fill. So you know, it's been an amazing experience to work on Einstein on the Beach. So I kind of consider it an honor to be a part of the entire show. And Lucinda is there, has been with us in rehearsals, and is a very generous person. But I haven't ever kind of felt like I needed to mimic her or do exactly her rendition of Einstein on the Beach. This is our version of Einstein on the Beach. But
what kind of
with Philip and Lucinda and Bob, of
yes.
course.
What kind of directions has she given you?
I actually mainly worked with Bob. She kind of said, if you have any questions, I'm here. And she gave me a little advice about, you know, put padding in my pants for sitting on the high chair for 45 minutes and little secrets like that. But mostly it was just sort of like, here it is.
Mm-hmm. And the heels are okay?
The heels are just for you today, actually.
Now, Helga, I'll never hear Mr. Bojangles without thinking about you now.
It's a funny thing about this piece. Whenever I meet people, and I meet a lot of people who, when I tell them I'm in this production, they say, oh, are you that prematurely air-conditioned supermarket girl, or are you the Bojangles girl? And I say, I'm the Bojangles girl.
So tell us about the Bojangles girl. Tell us about the text. What are you all talking about?
Kate and I had the best discussion about this because we talked about what it was like to actually memorize this text. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to memorize. And I remember when I was playing piano, the last thing I played was like the Liszt Totentanz or something. And I remembered how difficult that was to memorize. Nothing, absolutely nothing compared to this. And so we both have little notes everywhere to help us remember the text. I have it in my shuffle, so I just walk around saying it. I do other stuff while I say it. I have no idea what we're talking about, and it doesn't really seem to be relevant in a way. And it's, in fact, the best direction I've ever received from a director. We are told constantly not to ascribe any meaning to the text. The moment that we do that, you don't get to have your experience of the text. And I think that's the most important thing about it. I just try and say it. And we were also laughing about how difficult it is to just stand here and say it, because we have movement that goes with all of this stuff, and now we're not doing the movement. And so the text gets a little bit strange because it's not connected to the body anymore. It's not connected to the physical experience. But I love this text. I have no idea what it is, and I think it's good.
And it's been good since 1976.
It has been.
Yeah. Now talk about this 5-hour journey where you're on stage. How has that been for you? I mean, just being in there for 5 consecutive hours.
The thing that I really love about this piece is that there's such great permission in it. And I feel like that's true for us, and that it's true for the audiences. I was watching people listen to the music. So there's a little boy over there in the corner who listens with his legs like this, right? When the music starts, they go back and forth. You listen with your head on every beat. There's someone else over there who listens on 2 and 4. There's someone over there who listens on 1 and 3. And even though those things change, there's a way in which every person and every person's person is involved in this show. So Kate is always in yoga. I always throw myself into like ballet boot camp or something. And I take singing lessons also, even though I speak. I sing 1 note in this piece, right? And it's that you have to keep all the body ready. So we're always waiting to go on stage, or we're on stage. And what's amazing about this group of people is that we have to take care of each other, and we do so beautifully. And so 5 hours is nothing.
Now, Helga, you and there's another member, Charles Williams. Charles, there he is. Charles. Now, you and Charles have worked also with other productions of Robert Wilson's. Talk about maybe either of you can talk about working with him in a prior piece. I think it was St. Anthony.
Yeah, we were both in the Temptation of St. Anthony, which was also at a BAM Next Wave festival. So it feels like another home for us there as well. And okay, I'm going to be quiet. You say something.
Yeah.
Charles.
So Charles,
I was going to wait.
Okay, then I'll.
No, it's an experience working with Bob, as I'm sure we can all agree. We did the St. Anthony, and it was very exciting. And I sang in that, and I speak in this one. But he wanted me for this role for some reason, and who am I to say no? Robert Wilson calls and said, "We're doing this production." Well, actually, the production company called. Linda's production company called and said he'd like you for Mr. Johnson. And I said, who's Mr. Johnson? And I found out who he was. And it's been a thrill. It's been very exciting. I'm the senior member of the ensemble, right? And it's been, they've taken care of Grandpa.
Now, the words that you speak.
Yes.
I understand, were written by
a gentleman whose name is Mr. Johnson. Don't know his first name, but he wrote the words and he spoke them in the original production, and then productions that followed also, I think. And it's such a privilege because to be speaking these words that have been spoken by the man who wrote them, and then also the last speaking monologue that I do is at the very end of the opera, and it is so for some reason, very moving after everything has happened, and then you come back to where it began, and these words come that are unlike spaceships and trains and things, and the piece works. It really does work.
Now, do you practice yours with headphones on the train, and you're just
No,
listening?
his makes sense.
She's right. It's very lovely what he wrote. There's a little humor in the one that I do at the beginning as the judge, and then the very last one as the bus driver. It does make sense, and it's all about love.
Charles Williams, Kate Moran, and Helga Davis. They're part of the cast, Einstein on the Beach, and you're listening to us discuss the piece here in the green space on q2music.org and at WQXR.org. I'm Terrance McKnight, and we're going to bring back Einstein, Jennifer Koh, and music director Michael Riesman.
Do, re, mi,
play for. Live from the green space on Q2 Music and videocast on WQXR.org. Violinist Jennifer Koh and the role of the seminal work, Einstein on the Beach. Philip Glass Ensemble, directed by Michael Riesman. For more information and streaming programs from the festival, visit q2music.org. Every now and again, you feel like you're a part of something special. And hopefully we can provide you with some of those moments here in the green space. Our full calendar is available at WQXR.org and thegreenspace.org and also at WNYC.org. Special moments. Let's bring up Philip Glass. Ten symphonies, film scores, dozens of work for orchestra, chamber ensemble,
sounds
dance
like an
scores.
accusation.
You found your voice clearly in music. Before you found that voice, you were listening to Schoenberg, maybe writing like Berg a little bit, maybe
a
a little
lot
like
of things.
Webern. Do you still listen to any of
Not
that?
just that, but there was a whole world of jazz that was open to me, and popular music. One of the great things about being a musician in this country is that we don't divide it up into high and low and east and west even. We as a Juilliard student, we used to sing Beatles songs. I mean, that's what we did. So we have it's something that comes with the territory of being an American artist, that we can extend a very broad base for ourselves, and it can be very inclusive.
When you want to write, or in your most intimate, when you want to be intimate, no, that's not right. Let me say it this way.
I'm letting you get out of this one yourself.
So for Beethoven, perhaps it was, his solo piano works. For Schubert, maybe it was his songs. For Philip Glass, what is it?
Well, I don't know. A lot of it has been to do with theater, because in the theater you have all the elements of the music and image and movement and text. It all comes together in the theater. It's where also social issues can come about. You can talk about, like with Satyagraha, about social change and nonviolence. I'm working on something now. I won't say what it is exactly, but at one point, two of the characters sound like they're arguing between the Tea Party and Abraham Lincoln. Things like that can happen in the theater, and we can do it because it's what interests us and as people and as composers. And what I've always been striving to do was to find the language to put it in that could help those ideas to travel. Sometimes the language just seemed odd, a little strange at first, but Einstein doesn't sound that old now, 35, 37 years later, so maybe there were some good choices, maybe not all good along the way. I've done a lot of different things, but I think the idea of a personal language is actually not so much that it's personal, but it also can travel.
So do you take the Tea Party back to the 19th century, or are you bringing Abraham Lincoln forward to the 21st century?
We will see.
Talk about, so you talked about inspiration coming from various sources. What are some of the other sources where you look outside of music, outside of politics?
Well, actually, our whole American culture has been, and that includes sports and entertainment and just hard working. One of the things that a lot of artists do is that they spend a lot of time just doing day jobs for a long time, and we're not, so we learn about a lot of things that by the time we are able to express some lofty ideas, we've actually worked our way up the ladder. I'm not alone in that. That's very, very common. In this country, we don't support the arts. The artists, we support the arts, but not the artists. Publicly, we support the arts, but the artists live a life that's private and for most of us, very difficult.
We're going to hear one more piece, and let everyone continue on with their afternoon. Thank you so much for coming out here. Thank you, Philip Glass, for the 10 symphonies, the dozens of works for orchestra, the chamber music, the film scores, the dance music, and all that you do and provide for here.
Nice to be with you again,
and
Terrance.
New York City and on WQXR.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. One more excerpt. This last excerpt will feature the gentleman we met earlier, Charles Williams. Here's Charles Williams and the Philip Glass Ensemble with violinist Jennifer Koh. Music from Einstein on the Beach.
Would it get some?
If you see any of those baggy pants, it was huge.
For the sailboat, and it
Is like that.
could get.
Mr. Bojangles. Mr. Bojangles.
It is.
Mr. Bojangles.
It could get.
I reach you.
The railroad for
It
these
It
workers, and
is like that.
it could be. Were. It is.
It could be a balloon.
It could. Frankie. It could be. Frankie.
Mr. Bojangles.
It could be very fresh
And clean.
and clean.
If you see any of those baggy pants,
It could be a balloon.
Chuck the Hills, it was huge.
All these are the days, my friends.
If you
and
know it was a
these are the
violin
days,
to be answered the telephone,
my friends.
and
It could get
and
some wind for the sailboat, and it could get for
it
is.
is
It could get
like that.
the railroad for these workers,
I reach you.
and it could get for it is.
The scarf of wear in black and white.
It could be a balloon.
This
It could be
is about the
Frankie.
things on the
It
table.
could be very fresh and
Clean.
clean. It could be those ones.
If you see any of those baggy pants, Chuck the
Will
Hills,
it
it was
get
huge.
some wind for the sailboat, and it could
This
get
one
for
could be
it
counting
is
up.
It could get the
scarf
railroad for these
of
workers,
wears in black and white.
it could get for it.
This is about the things
is.
on the table. If you know
All
it was
these
a
are the days,
violin
my
to be,
friends,
answer the
and
telephone.
these are
and
the days,
if anyone
my
asks you,
friends.
please,
Put these days of eight,
it was trees.
eight,
It,
eight
it,
cents
it,
into
is like
100
that.
coins of change.
Mr. Bojangles, Mr.
All
Bojangles.
these are the II days. My
I reach
friends. And these are
the scarf
my days.
of wear in black and white.
My friends,
This is about the things on the table.
make a Toyota.
This one
in.
could be counting
This is-
up.
These are the II days. Loop.
If you see any of those
So,
baggy pants, it was huge.
If you say,
Chuck the Hills,
will
Mr.
it
Bojangles.
get some wind for the sailboat?
If you know it was a
And it
violin
could
to be,
for-
answer the telephone. And
It could
if
be
anyone asks
Frankie,
you, please,
it could be very fresh and
it,
clean. It could be those ones.
it,
So, if you cash the Bank of World Traveler from 10 months ago,
is like that.
do you
Mr.
remember
Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles, I reach you.
the bus driver?
The
well,
scarf of
put
wear
the
in
red
black
ball,
and
blue
white.
ball, 2 black and white balls, and Holmes pushed on the brakes.
This is about the
4
things
balls
on the
went down
table.
to that, and Holmes
This
said,
one
"Get these balls
Could
out
be
A
counting up.
from the gear shift." All these are the days, my friends, and
This could be about the gun.
Are the days.
The day with its cares and perplexities is ended, and the night is now upon us. The night should be a time of rest, a time to Relax. We have need of a soothing story to banish the disturbing thoughts of the day, to set to rest our troubled minds and put at ease our ruffled spirits. And what sort of story shall we hear? It will be a familiar story. A story that is so very, very old, and yet it is so new. It is the old, old story of love. Two lovers sat on the park bench with their bodies touching each other, holding hands in the moonlight. There was silence between them. So profound was their love for each other, they needed no words to express it. And so they sat in silence on the park bench with their bodies touching, holding hands in the moonlight. Finally, she spoke. "Do you love me, John?" she asked. "You know I love you, darling," he replied. "I love you more than tongue can tell. You are the light of my life, my sun, the moon, and stars. You are my everything. Without you, I have no reason for being." Again, there was silence as the two lovers sat on the park bench with their bodies touching, holding hands in the moonlight. Once more she spoke. "How much do you love me, John?" she asked. He answered, "How much do I love you? Count the stars in the sky. Measure the waters of the oceans with a teaspoon. Number the grains of sand on the seashore. Impossible, you say? Yes, and it is just as impossible for me to say how much I love you. My love for you is higher than the heavens, deeper than Hades, and broader than the earth. It has no limits, no bounds. Everything must have an ending, except my love for you." There was more silence as the two lovers sat on the park bench with their bodies touching, holding hands in the moonlight. Once more, her voice was heard. "Kiss me, John," she implored. And leaning over, he pressed his lips warmly to hers in fervent osculation.
We Play 5 from Einstein on the Beach, heard here in the green space on WQXR.org and on Q2music.org. Music director Michael Riesman, the Philip Glass Ensemble. As part of the 30th anniversary Next Wave Festival, BAM presents a revival of Einstein on the Beach from September 14th through 23rd. And for more information on Music of Constant Change Festival, visit q2music.org. Watch out for other Q2 events in the green space. Helga Davis will be back on March 16th with cellist Jeffrey Ziegler. And 2 weeks from today, WQXR will present pianist Leif Ove Ansnes in his only New York solo appearance this season, performing Beethoven sonatas and talking about a major multi-season Beethoven concerto project with the Mahler Chamber Orchestra. I'd like to thank some folks who helped make this event happen. Brooklyn Academy of Music, Joe Malillo. Thank you, Joe. Blake Zerdell and Associates, Pomegranate Arts, Saxon Company, and Orange Mountain Music. The Green Space team includes Indira Etwaru, Norman Small, Nikki Johnson, Ricardo Fernandez, Gaines Laguerre, Ernie Indrado, Eric Kamens, and David McLean. And the WQXR production team is Martha Bonta, Eileen De La Hunty, Aaron Dalton, Alex Ambrose, Hannes Brown, and our recording engineer is Irene Trudell. My name is Terrance McKnight. Thanks for being with us. This is New York's Q2 Music and WQXR.org. We'll see you all next time.